At this time, we will move to the Stillwater Economic Development Authority agenda, and I will call this meeting for February 13th, 2023 to order. Is there a recommended action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved. Jump down to item 5 and consider Brick Building LLC's request for assistance in development financing for property located at 622 South Main and 624 South Main pursuant to the Stillwater Reinvestment Plan. Mr. Brady Moore.
Yes, good evening, trustees. Brady Moore with the City Manager's Office. And tonight we're excited to bring to you another TIF project from our Downtown Campus Link TIF District number 3. Drew Williamson, the owner of Brick Building LLC, is the developer for this project. He is here tonight, and before I have him come speak to you about the redevelopment, I'll quickly go over some of the project details and the recommendation from the Citizen Implementation Committee. The project is a redevelopment of 2 buildings at 622 and 624 South Main Street that includes a 5,000 square foot restaurant with an attached bar, a 2,800 square foot private dining space, a covered outdoor dining, and 4 900 square foot Airbnb apartments on the top floor. The purchase price of the 2 buildings is $1.6 million. The estimated renovation expenses of $2.3 million, and furniture and fixtures estimated cost of $550,000 for a total development cost of $4.5 million. On the application, the developer requested $1 million in TIF assistance. On January 30th, the TIF Implementation Committee met and heard Drew's project. The committee voted 4-0 for approval, and their recommendation was for the total amount of $1 million to be paid in arrears and to include the 1 cent of the city's 2 cents of undedicated sales tax towards the project. Excuse me. I'll now invite Mr. Williamson to come tell you more about the project, and then I'll come back to answer any questions that you have.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm going to walk you through the project as I see it, and then after I follow up with that, I will answer any questions you may have. So this will be, this is the corner building 624. It is the entrance area. As you see there is brick fill from an area that you can get into 622 that was put in decades ago. We'll take that out. You'd be able to walk in, hostess will be able to seat you, or you'd be able to go in to the lounge, which would have a nice bar set up and would also seat around 40 guests. This is looking west through that door all the way down. Currently, there is another arch area that we would be knocking out as well, so that guests and staff can get to the other building and utilize the existing portion of the kitchen that's in the other building. And then at the end of this building would be the access to the Airbnbs that are going up top, and then in front of that would be the kitchen for this restaurant. That's the second archway that we would be taking out. This is the basement. It's a 2,800 square foot basement. It would house an area for people to be able to utilize. We'd be able to utilize it for overflow dining and for guests to be able to rent out the facility, rent out the area for private events. At the very back of it, there is a pretty good sized room that was originally the boiler room that has a pretty neat area that we can put tables in. This is the top room, or the second floor of 624. Originally, when designed a few years ago with the architect, they saw that as a banquet facility. I didn't think we needed any more of those. So what I envision there is actually going to be 4, and they're going to be about 800 square foot Airbnbs with access from the inside of the first floor, as well as exiting from a deck that would be around the whole outside of the building. This is a picture looking at the shared wall. This is looking south inside the 622, and just gives you an idea of where the guests would walk through there. And then the bar area would most likely run down that south wall, and then seating throughout. Again, looking down all the way through, all the restrooms that are going to be utilized in both buildings would be in the 622. So the guests would be able to walk through there in two different areas to utilize that. In the very back is the dirty side of the kitchen, and we're going to keep that the way it is currently and utilize that. Front view. And then this is a view from the rear of the building looking out front. So about 2,800 square foot of space to utilize. Picture of the kitchen, nothing there would change, but it does give great access to the corner building for a restaurant that we wouldn't have to put any additional money into building out that portion of it. And that is it. Any questions that I may answer for you?
Trustees?
So what's your timetable?
Closing September 1st. Lambert Construction would be doing the construction, and they are saying 7 to 9 months from there. So this all started with needing to meet the needs for Zanotti's Wine Bar. I approached the existing owner wanting to purchase that, move it across the street. Once I saw what was there, I felt like that not only could we put a restaurant in there that would allow for a fine dining area in the city of Stillwater, but it would also complement the area and everything else that's there. Mm-hmm. So Zanotti's would stay across the street. Really, the but for here and why I'm in front of you today is I could buy the corner building, move Zanotti's across the street, and do exactly what I need to do to justify that. What I'm looking to do is really build out something that you could pick up, you could put in downtown Dallas, put in downtown Oklahoma City, in Kansas City, and create a destination location for people that, not only the citizens here, but for people that aren't in town, that don't live in town, or they're coming to visit. So I feel like we have a good plan in place to do that.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead.
I was curious, when you said the Airbnb would have a deck around is that around the front of the building or around the back of the building?
It's going to be the
Side of the
Airbnb or the deck would be over the top of the sidewalk area, and the original plans from the previous owner, they worked through that with the city, and it was accepted, and it would be about an 8-foot wide deck. Underneath that deck, there would also be 1,000 square foot for outdoor seating for the restaurant.
Is that on Main Street side or
7th?
7th Street? Yeah, that's what I thought.
It would actually go around the corner a little bit too, though. And then there would be an egress set of steps off of that deck.
Is there anything that would make the Airbnbs ADA compliant? Would there be any way for?
So from my understanding is that the building itself falls into an existing location, under existing building code, that it would not need anything or to have any elevators added to it to be able to utilize the space.
You mentioned that the plans for the deck had been previously sort of drawn up, and I don't know if that's...
Yeah, it was in the packet, but let me pull it up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I've got
I
them.
didn't scroll.
I'm just wondering about, that was previously vetted by the city in terms of the design and engineering and that sort of thing? Is that what, would that have
That's
to
what
go
I'm
back
being
to-
told from the architect, yes.
Okay. That was my understanding. I thought that had kind of almost happened already before, and
I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe that possibly decades ago that there was a deck there, and that's why there are two doors, existing
yeah.
doors on that second floor
Yeah.
area.
okay. Well, I think it looks fantastic, and I think I will just say one of the questions people sometimes have about tax increment financing and whether we really need this kind of thing isn't this stuff going to happen on its own? without us providing incentive financing. And I would point to this building specifically as a very good example of stuff not happening. For us to be able to step in and say, we have some availability to do tax increment financing here and actually get a building that has been sitting vacant for 13 years, and put it back into productive use on one of the main corners of our downtown area is a pretty darn good reason for me to say, let's figure out how to help make that happen. So I know you, Drew, have a number of successful food and beverage based businesses here in the community, and so having somebody who's got the experience and knows what they're doing to be able to make something like this happen is really exciting. And to me, again, just a perfect example of why we put a TIF in place to try to be able to make stuff like this happen. So I'm super excited about it.
It is really cool that so many of the proposals that have come before us are from our community. They're not coming from outside of our community. I think that's a really exciting thing to see you invest in our community here.
I would tell you that my staff is really excited about it because we will utilize existing staff to create the atmosphere that we've got. So we look forward to making it work.
Excellent. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
Brady, can I ask you to clarify what I thought I heard, and that is for some reason, there's not a requirement to come under compliance of ADA for accessibility. Did I mishear that, or did I hear that correctly?
Well, there is an existing building code, IEBC, I believe it's called. I'm not certified in that. Jeff was here earlier, he is. But I believe what it is, and you see this on other buildings downtown that I even look to for mine. But yeah, it's if there is a second floor that you want to repurpose for a private, like living for like Airbnbs, I guess that is open to public, but you have to state that in your terms and conditions when you post it, that there's no ADA accessibility, but you have that ability to not have to put an elevator in every building that you remodel. Mm-hmm. Now, for the restaurant on the first floor, absolutely. If it's a public space, that's going to require all ADA accessibility.
Okay. All right. Thank
Yep.
you.
I think most of those apartments that have been repurposed downtown on the second floors of those buildings are not.
Correct. Yeah.
Are not.
Unfortunately,
accessible.
sometimes it's not just a financial decision; it's just a structural decision.
Sure.
Okay. I just want to understand that. Thank you.
Yes, it's a great question. So, as we look at the financial projections on this project, I can pull the Excel spreadsheet up if you'd like to see it. When we look at those things, those increment values of the ad valorem taxes, the personal property taxes, and the 1 cent, if you so choose, or 2 cents of new business sales tax to go to the project. We're showing that it's an estimated $1 million payback would be in about 13 years. So, and again, if we're doing the payment in arrears, it collects what it collects. So from the accounting and the assurance side, it's cleaner because it just, as those increments come in, we can then relay them to the developer.
Would it be structured to pay back faster if possible? How would the payment structure be done? I mean, if more is collected, would we be able to pay that sooner and potentially retire it in 9 years instead of 13 years?
Well, exactly. Yes. If we were doing upfront financing, because this is just, you're awarding him the total amount of assistance that we can contribute. It's what the TIF collects. So there's no note that we're repaying. So if it collects it back in 7 years, he gets that in 7 years. You're correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a structured you get this much
There's no
amount.
pilot. That's correct. Yep. It collects and pays quickly. And he gave us conservative sales tax numbers, so I would anticipate that it would pay back much quicker than the 13 years. Yes, sir.
We still we'll do a development agreement and all that stuff would be spelled out, and we'll bring that back at some point.
That's correct. Yep. Tonight, we're just getting kind of the guidance from this conversation, and then you're authorizing the motion that I have for you tonight that I can read here in a little bit is just allowing us to execute a redevelopment agreement with the redeveloper.
Yep.
And the city manager and deputy city manager have recommended that 1 cent be of the undedicated 2 cents be dedicated to this project.
Mayor, if I may clarify just something procedurally, because the Center for Economic Development Law will work through with staff the redevelopment agreement. The proposed motion tonight is for staff to continue to do that and to authorize the general manager to sign it.
Okay.
If you would want the redevelopment agreement to come back to the trustees, you would just simply omit the authorized general manager to sign and execute those terms, and then once a redevelopment agreement is proposed, they would bring that back for your consideration.
No, I mean, personally, I'm fine with that being negotiated and signed, as long as we understand that it's in arrears, it's going to be paid as the money comes in, not necessarily over a given length of time, but just as
Correct.
the money's available.
Yes.
I mean, again, it sounds like if this kind of incentive is what enables a project like this to happen, then I'm all for it. Okay. Questions? Further questions, trustees? Would you read
Yep.
your recommendation for us,
Yes.
Brady?
Motion to direct staff to enter into a redevelopment agreement with Brick Building LLC and authorize the general manager and legal counsel to negotiate, finalize, and execute the terms of the redevelopment agreement for the restaurant, bar, and Airbnbs at 622 South Main Street and 624 South Main Street.
Trustees?
Move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendation. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 4-0. Looking forward to it. All right. Nothing else on the CETA agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn CETA. Please vote. We're adjourned with a vote of 4-0.